All right, you are welcome to today's lesson again. This time we're going to talk about problem and solution essay. All right, so we are going to deal with essays which ask you to talk about a problem and solution, or cause and solution, or just the solution. All right, so this is what we are going to do. So when you are asked to solve a problem and solution question, you might be allowed to do one or you might be allowed to do one of these three. You might be asked to talk about either the problem and solution of the question, or the cause and solution of the problem, or just the solution. So your essay might be about an issue, which is about the problem, and you might be asked to talk about either the problem and the solution, why it's a problem and the solution you can give, or the cause of the problem and the solution you can give, or they can just ask you to talk about the solution alone. And that's all that we are going to do about it. So we are going to look at a sample question and then know how to answer them. So these are sample question. One problem faced by almost every large city is traffic congestion. What do you think the causes are? What solutions can you suggest? So you can see here we have a problem question, right, which is about traffic. A lot of traffic congestion on the road, and the examiner is asking you what you think the causes are. Now look at the question very well, examine it properly, because you need to know the differences. All right, so you know exactly what you are going to deal with. So it tells you to talk about what the causes are, and then what solution you think you are able to give. So you have to talk about these two. So you're going to talk about the causes and the solution in this sample question, and this is a sample question you're going to use for all the you're going to use it throughout the lesson. So this same question can be framed in different ways. What you need to note is the task the examiner asks you. So you have to check the task that the examiner asks you to do. So that is what you need to look at it, because problem and solution question can be put in different forms. Okay, so let's look at the same question in different ways. One, let's note this one first. It said one problem faced by almost every large city is traffic congestion. What do you think the causes are? What solution can suggest? So this one is about what you think the causes are, and then the solutions that you can give. All right, let's look at a different way they can put it. One problem faced by almost every large city is traffic congestion. Why is this a problem? So why is it a problem? Why do you think this is a particular problem that we should take note of? Okay, and why is this a problem, and what solution do you think can be given? This is not the same as the first one. Why do you think it's a problem? So that's what you should know. All right, so you need to state why you think it's a problem, and also the solution that you think you can give. Okay, so the same question, problem faced by almost every large city is traffic congestion. This question is about, let's look at the task. It stated that what are the possible problems, okay, of traffic congestion. So what do you think are the possible problems that traffic congestion can cause? Okay, the possible problems, and then what solution. Now this one too, the same question, but it only gives you what solution. All right, so say what solution can you suggest? So you see the same question, but it's asking you in different ways. All right, so that is what you should note. But here the only thing that you should do is that you should look at the tasks that have been given to you, analyze it properly, and make sure that you understand it before you start dealing with the question. All right, so now that we understand it, let's look at other ways. They can ask you what issues that this cause and how can they be addressed. Yeah, so just it's quite the same, just that they have to is synonyms, right? So it can be reframed in different ways. What are some resulting social problems, and how can we deal with them? All right, so same question or same thing, but just have to check the question and know how to address it. So there are a lot of them. You can pause the video and then look at how the questions can be framed, but all of them is still talking about the problem and solution. All right, so now let's look at the structure and how we can go about with this question. All right, so before we look at the structure, let's re-examine our question again. It states that one problem faced by almost every large city is traffic congestion. What do you think the causes are, and what solutions can you suggest? So this is the question given. So how do we go about with it? In the introduction, we need to paraphrase our question, but note that this one, they are not asking you to give any opinion. They just want you to give the causes and then the solution, or the problem and then the solution. Okay, so as we are dealing with the others that do not contain any opinion, you don't have to state any opinion in this particular question. So it tells you to give your causes, the causes and solution. That is the two questions. All right, don't confuse this with two-part system or two-part question or direct questions. All right, this is different from direct question. This is a problem and solution question. Okay, so and also don't confuse it with advantages and disadvantages. All right, so don't confuse it with that. This is different. All right, don't have too many ideas too when you are writing this question. You can just have at most two points in each of them. Either you're going to write 2 points in the causes and 2 points in the solution. You can write two causes and 2 solutions at most, but I even prefer to just write 1 cause and 1 solution. It's okay. So for us, you're able to explain it properly and develop your ideas properly is right. And try as much as possible to argue them equally. Don't try to write one less than the other. Write all of them equally and be specific. All right, so let's look at the structure. So in your introduction, you just have to paraphrase the question, and then you state 1 key problem and 1 cause or related solution that you can give. Okay, because the question is talking about the problem and solution, or the cause and solution. So I would say that look at the question and the task is asking you to do and give the answers for both of them equally. Okay, so state 1 key answer to each of them. So if it's a cause and solution, make sure that you give 1 key cause and 1 solution. If it's about the problem and solution, give 1 key problem and 1 solution. If it's asking about 2 solutions, give 2 different solutions. And then so it's about the question and the task that has been given to you, and then you give it appropriate answer to them. In the main body paragraph, you start with the first one, which in this case is the cause. So you start with the cause, you write about you state the problem or the cause, you explain, and then you give example. All right, in the body paragraph 2, you now come to the solution. You state the solution, you explain, and then you give example, and then in the conclusion you summarize all the key points. So this is very simple. It's just like those that do not demand any opinion. So just go about it that way. All right, so let's pick it one after the other and start writing it step by step. So as we already know from our question, we are dealing with traffic congestion and we are talking about the causes and solutions. So what you need to do is that you need to actually go through, plan everything. So if I pick the causes, I have to write down any kind of cause that I know, right? So I'll write several causes of traffic congestion. I'll just write them down. All right, and then I'll pick the one that I'm comfortable to use and the one I can explain better. And then I'll come to the solution. I'll look at some possible solutions that actually matches the problem. Okay, so if I look at the problem and I'll look at the best solution that I can give, or the cause of the traffic congestion, and I'll look up the best solution I can give to curb this traffic congestion. All right, so I can give several solutions. I can have several solutions to these causes, but I'll pick the one that I'm comfortable with. So out of the problems or the causes of traffic congestion, these are the cause. This is the core that I'm going to use. So I think that there are too many cars on the roads, and that is the reason for traffic congestion, because of increasing number of people who own cars and think that it is more convenient to use cars than their personal car than to use the bus and train. Okay, so this the reason. There were a lot of congestion on the road because everybody want to buy a car and everybody want to own a car because they don't want to have problems with buses and trains going to wait, but what is the possible solution that that you as the writer think that can be given? So several points might come into your head, but you might choose the one that you think you feel comfortable with and you can write. So from this, in this particular lesson, we are going to use car sharing park and ride scheme as the solution to this particular problem. Okay, so car sharing method, all right, so and park and ride scheme method, these are the things that we're going to use to curb the problem. So you should gather all your vocabularies too as well. All right, look at the possible synonyms you're going to use for the key ideas or the key words that are in the question. All right, so you can look out for possible synonyms that you're going to use for these words too as well. All right, so after you have gathered all your vocabularies, you know the grammar structures you're going to use and everything, then now you can start with the first sentence or the first paragraph, which will be our introduction. All right, so we start to write our paraphrase question, which will be under the introduction. So let's go to the introduction and then we write our paraphrase question. So before we write our paraphrase question, I want us to look at the question itself or the sentence question itself. Okay, so it states that one problem faced by almost every large city is traffic congestion. So I just have to rephrase it or rewrite it in my own words. So in the paraphrase question, write that one of the most serious issues facing the majority of, or facing majority, let me take the out of it, facing majority of large urban areas is traffic congestion. Okay, so look at the question itself. One problem faced by almost every large city is traffic congestion, and then I will rewrite it as one of the most serious issues facing majority of large urban areas is traffic congestion. So you are just rewriting the thing in your own words, making sure that the idea is kept. So after writing your paraphrase question, because we are not going to write any outline statement, we are going to write our outline. So we are not going to write any thesis statement. We just write our outline statement. Okay, so we write our outline statement dealing with what we are going to include in the essay. So these are the 2 points that we said we're going to include. We're going to talk about too many cars on the road as the cause of the problem, and then we're going to use car sharing and park and ride scheme as the solution. So that's what we're going to outline in our essay. So let's look at the outline statement. So the outline statement is the one that will tell the reader that this is what you're going to talk about in your essay. So let's read it. This essay will elaborate on how too many private cars on the road these days have become the main reason for this. So this here is a reference to traffic congestion, and a viable solution is to introduce more park and ride schemes. So you can see I'm still talking about my 2 points. All right, now after dealing with it, I'll now come on to explain it better in the body paragraph. So in the body paragraph is where I'll expand everything. I will lay more emphasis on them. So the outline statement is just summarizing the 2 things that you're going to deal with. Okay, so now let's go on to the body paragraph. So in the body paragraph, I'll deal with the first one. Remember, in our structure, we said in the first main body paragraph, we talk about the problem or the cause. So I'm going to talk about the cause of this problem, and then I'll explain and give examples. So let's look at our first main body paragraph. So in the first main body paragraph, I'm going to deal with the cause. And we said that the first cause was that there were too many cars on the roads. So I'm going to start with the topic sentence. When we say topic sentence, don't let it become something so like difficult to understand. We just that we are going to talk about the first sentence will now open up the paragraph. That's what we are talking about. So your first sentence should open up the paragraph. It should talk about what you're going to include or what the whole paragraph is about. Okay, so in the first body paragraph, which is the topic sentence, you're going to start with the topic sentence. Firstly, a high number of people own cars in the country. with most families now having more than one car. So you can see this one, we are dealing with the causes of the problem, and then we say that owning more cars. So a lot of families are now having more than one car, and everybody wants to own a car. So now let's deal with the explanation. Let's now explain why people want to own more cars and why it's a problem. So we will give an explanation. Let's read this one first. Firstly, a high number of people own cars in the country, with more families now having more than one car. Most people like the convenience of traveling at the time they want to, rather than being restricted to public transport timetables. So they prefer to drive themselves around rather than taking the bus or train. This is despite the fact that they frequently have to sit in a long traffic queues as they near the city center. So they don't care whether to sit in the traffic queues when they are getting to the city center. All they want is convenience. Okay, so the explanation sentence will now throw more light on what you said about people owning more cars. So after explaining, now you give the example. And we said an example can be a personal experience, it can be fact, it can be about research or further detail. Okay, so let's go on to give an example sentence. This is our example sentence. Whenever I have to attend a meeting in the city, I always drive because it means that I can leave home when I want to, rather than getting stressed about getting to the station in time to catch the train. So because this is a personal experience or something, yeah, personal to me. So I'm just saying that I like to drive than to go pick up a train or catch the train when I want to go for a meeting, because I'm able to get there on time instead of just going about getting up at any like very early, okay, which is uncomfortable. Okay, so now I'll give a personal experience and let's read through. So that firstly, a high number of people own cars in the country, with most families now having more than one car. Most people like the convenience of traveling at the time they want to, rather than being restricted to public transport timetables. So they prefer to drive themselves around rather than taking the bus or train. This is despite the fact that they prefer to sit in long traffic queues as they near the city center. Whenever I have to attend a meeting in the city, I always drive because it means that I can leave home when I want to, rather than getting stressed about getting to the station in time to catch the train. Okay, so this is an explanation sentence to still buttress the point, and it's now talking about the causes. These are the reasons for all these traffic conditions on the road. Now, after giving the causes, we now answer the second question, which is the solution. Now, how do we solve all these problems? So let's look at the same thing. We now move on to the paragraph 3, which is our second body paragraph talking about the solution. So we are going to give a detailed solution to the problem above. Okay, so remember our solution was that we are going to use the park and ride scheme. All right, or yeah, park and ride scheme. So that's what we are going to use. Okay, so let's deal with it. Let's go on and start with the paragraph 3. So in the paragraph 3, we are now dealing with the topic sentence for the solution. A solution that is proving successful in many areas is park and ride scheme. So this sentence will open up the paragraph and tell the examiner that this particular paragraph is going to talk about the solution, which is the use of park and ride scheme. So we now explain what we meant, and then we further give an example sentence. All right, so this is the example sentence. Let's read. A solution that is proving successful in many areas is park and ride scheme. Explain. This is where you park your car for free in a large car park on the outskirts of the city and take a bus for the final part of your journey. the fee you have to pay for the bus trip is usually very small, and this public transport system is generally very regular, running every 10 minutes or so. So now we are giving a solution to it, and the use of the park and ride scheme has been explained here for the reader to understand. Now we go on to the example sentence, and I believe by now you understand what I mean by example sentence. So in the example sentence, it states that a survey carried out in the city of Accra showed that the rush hour congestion decreased by 10% when the council set up a park and ride scheme to the north of the city. There was an additional drop of another 10% in traffic volume when a second scheme began operating to the south. So this time there is an experiment which has been done, and it shows that it is true that the use of park and ride scheme actually help reduce traffic congestion. So you can see here we have clearly outlined everything, the solution, explained it, and given an example. So this is how you go about with the essay. Now the final part is to give the conclusion, where you start with in conclusion or to conclude. So in this particular side, you just have to summarize every part of it, and then you state the options that you gave. All right, so that's what you are going to give in now. So let's go on to the conclusion. So with the conclusion, it states that to conclude, the major urban problem of traffic congestion caused by excessive number of private cars on the city road can be alleviated by the introduction of park and ride scheme on city fringes. So one, we dealt with the problem or the actual topic here, which is traffic congestion. So you can see here we did not take it out. We also talked about the cause, all right, because that is what we dealt with, the cause, which is excessive number of private cars. And also we dealt with the solution, called alleviated, so can be solved, right? Can be alleviated, can be solved or brought down by the introduction of park and ride scheme. So you can see the solution or the conclusion summarize everything together. It ends it well by talking about the main topic, talking about the two ideas you brought in the main body paragraph. So this is how you write a problem and solution question. Remember, problem and solution question does not ask you of your opinion, so you don't have to deal with the opinion. We started by talking about the introduction, where we dealt with the preface question, and then we came to the outline statement, where we talked about what the essay will include. We came to the main body paragraph, where we dealt with the first one, which was the cause, or as I stated, you need to also look at the question and look at what you're going to start with, the first one. And then we came to explain it. So we gave a topic sentence, we explained, and we gave example. And in the main body paragraph 2, where we talked about the solution, we also gave a topic sentence for our solution, we explained and gave example. And in the conclusion, we summarized everything and the ideas we brought up together. So that's how you go about with a problem and solution question. I would urge you to go through a lot of problem and solution question using this same idea and structure, and I believe it will help you to write a very good essay. Thank you so much, and I'll meet you in our next lesson.